10 things I've learned in my first year as an independently published author. Everything is harder than you think. And by that I mean that I definitely underestimated how hard it was going to be. I'd like to think that I'm quite a determined and hard-working person in general. I read up on things. For example, I spent a year researching self-publishing and trying to be as knowledgeable as possible so things can go as smoothly as possible. But in reality, they rarely do. Even the simplest stuff is hard because you have to be consistent and create good habits, which are often hard to keep when you have so many different hats to wear. For example, you're the writer, the editor, the formatter, the proofreader, the publicist, the salesperson, the accountant, an agent. You've got to negotiate with agents, and so on and so forth. So, long story short, don't expect it to be easy. It's harder than I thought it would be, and I thought it would be hard. But it does get easier with each book, and there's light at the end of a dark, dark tunnel, and that's something that's comforting and worth knowing. Now that I've published 3 books and I'm looking to publish my 4th soon, I definitely don't have that same feeling of overwhelm that I did with book 1 or 2. Point 2, everything takes longer than you think. So from editing to booking book tours to doing paid promotions, it all takes longer than you think it will. So always plan accordingly by adding 20 to 25% extra time to everything. This will build in all that extra time for when your editor or cover designer gets sick, or your blog tour company is full for the month you want, or you suddenly realise that your book needs just one last read through before it gets published. But you do get quicker with each book, and I spent about 9 months of fairly intense work to get Ghosts of Mars into orbit, but every book since has taken less and less time overall. My hope is that when I'm on book 10 or 15 or even 20, I'll have cut down the time of the whole process right to the bone, and there'll be no noticeable decline in quality at any stage as well. So I'll be doing it faster but with the same quality. And by being able to do that, I'll time things better and I'll know what to prioritise and when. You will spend more than you think you will. Budgeting to self-publish is a tricky topic. Ultimately, you have to see how deep your own pockets are and base your budget upon that. You can spend thousands and thousands in the blink of an eye, so if you're going to do it like a traditional publisher, it will certainly cost that, and it can be eye-watering looking back on what has been spent on my 3 books already this year, with a similarly big spend to come next year for my next 4 books. Between covers, edits, marketing, they use up the majority of that budget very quickly. But there's also smaller expenses in there too that I'd always add another maybe 20 to 25% on top of the budget that you think it will cost initially. But if you invest well, you'll make more than you think. This is point 4. This is the most important point I'm making in the newsletter. The quality of the investment shows in your work. I know with 100% certainty that my books would not have sold half as well without the spend on covers and edits and marketing. I always say that whatever you don't spend on edits, covers and marketing, you'll lose out on by at least 10 times that in sales as a result. I appreciate that not everyone has the money to spend on these things, and it's difficult when cost of living crisis and so on, but you're also leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't spend. You have to spend money to make money. That's a traditional phrase in business, and that leads me nicely to marketing is the #1 factor in book sales. Well, a great story and stunning cover do make a world of difference and will elevate your book above most of the other millions of books out there. On their own, they will not sell your book as well as a good targeted marketing plan. Now, I should say that I have zero background in marketing and sales, but I've spent a lot of time studying both and trying to do the very best from a small author business. And I know that if I had more capital, my books would be doing even better. I'm also limited by how much I can spend on my books, but the relationship is clear with a crystal correlation, or even a direct causation, that the more you spend on marketing, the more books you will sell. And this is true in traditional publishing too. There was a big study published on it recently and it couldn't be more clear. So free yourself from the myth that great books will always find readers, and they will, to be fair, but not as many as a book with a big marketing budget. And then think about your marketing as a priority when self-publishing, and not something that's an annoyance or something unnecessary or that you hate. But there's lots of other free things you can do, and this is point 6. don't fret if you're reading this and don't know you'll never be able to spend thousands on marketing. You can do so many things that still cost, but instead of money, they cost your time and energy. You have your own social media accounts, your newsletter, Goodreads itself is a social media platform of sorts, or you can use it in that way. I've heard of lots of success from other authors as well who spend a lot of times on Goodreads and social media and so on, and they socialise with their readers and they build a huge platform that way. You can also volunteer your time and expertise on podcasts, blogs, other magazines, websites, and various different forms of media. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, and certainly don't hesitate to volunteer yourself when there's call outs for these things. Brand building is queen. I've not done this very well so far this year, to be honest. I wanted to dip my toes into the indie waters a little bit first before settling on brand. And so that's why I published 3 different books with new characters and worlds and so on. But next year and going forward, I'm going to be more focused on brand building and series accumulating with my books. I'll still launch standalone and new series, and I'll also build on what I have already. Ghosts of Mars is getting that treatment in 2024. I'm going to do a little Kickstarter for that one and so on. But I do think that flexibility, experimentation, and going wide are also important. The advantage of doing it the way I did it was that I now have a baseline data on sales, marketing spend, readers, reviews, and so much more information that will help me be more informed in future decisions for my author career. And having a diverse range of books and series will also allow me to target a wider range of readers. And this will not only help in the long run as I build each book series deeper, but more importantly, wider. There we go, that's 10 things that I've learned over this last year or so of being an indie author. I'm sure by next year I'll have 10 more or 50 more or 100 more, and every year subsequently from now. It is a huge learning curve, and although it's difficult, I do think I'm making fewer mistakes with each subsequent book, and things are certainly clearer now for me than they were before I started. And I'm so pleased that all of you have joined me on this journey and had followed along so far, and hopefully I'll have much more to share with you in the future. May the force be with you.